Then coming to next, that is Boule unit. This Boule unit was given by Boule in 1918. It says that this unit, it says that the quantity of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the quantity of NPK required in pound, okay, it is always expressed in pound, to produce 50% of the maximum yield. 50% of the maximum yield. Okay, it means Y, that is yield that is achieved, is 50% of the maximum yield, that is A. Okay, 50% of A. So the quantity of NPK that is required to produce 50% of the maximum yield is known as Boule unit, and we know that 1 pound is 454 gram. Okay, so it is always expressed in pound. So remember this thing, the quantity of Boule unit for NPK. So Boule unit for N is 223 pound, whereas for P2O5 phosphorus it is 45 pound, and for K2O means potassic fertilizer it is 76 pound. Okay, this is very, very important in examinations. Many times it can be asked, like, what is the Boule value of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium? And remember this thing, the Boule unit of nitrogen is equivalent to phosphorus and it is equivalent to potassium. It means that 1 Boule unit of nitrogen will produce 50% yield, 1 Boule unit of phosphorus will produce 50% yield, and 1 Boule unit of potassium will also produce 50% of the maximum yield. It means this Boule unit across the different factors, it is equivalent. Okay, now we'll calculate the value of C, that is the factor of Mr. Lewis, for 1 Boule unit. Okay, the question is, what will be the value of C for 1 Boule unit? So we have already derived the modified version of Mr. Lewis law, which says that log A minus Y is equal to log A minus Cx. Okay, so from this we can calculate Cx is equal to log A minus log A minus Y, and we can write this as log A divided by A minus Y. So for Boule unit, what will be the value of A? For example, A is the 100% is the target. So here we can write the value of A is 100. If the value of A is 100, then applying 1 Boule unit, we can achieve 50%. So here value of Y is 50 and value of A is 100. So it is log 100 divided by 100 minus 50. Okay, for Boule unit, 1 Boule unit, the value of Y will be 50. So here we can write log 100 divided by 50. So that will give us log 2. So value of log 2 is 0.301. So remember the value of C, that is Mr. Lewis factor or Mr. Lewis constant. The value of Mr. Lewis constant for 1 Boule unit is 0.301. So this is also a very important question in any examinations. This question is asked, like, what is the value of Mr. Lewis constant for 1 Boule unit? So the correct answer of this question is, it is 0.301. Okay, but the value of this is the value of this 0.301 is the value of Mr. Lewis constant for 1 Boule unit. Then what is the value of Mr. Lewis constant for conventional unit of NPK? So as we have already discussed, for Boule unit, the quantity of NPK, it is equivalent. Okay, that's the reason why the 0.301 it is the same for NPK for 1 Boule unit. But for conventional unit, the quantity of N and P and K, it will not be different one. It will not be the same. Okay, so Mr. Lewis have found that for conventional unit, the value of C depends on the type of nutrient. For nitrogen, the value of C is 0.122, and for P2O5, the value of C, these are the value of C for Mr. Lewis constant. For P2O5, the value of C is 0.6, and for K2O, the value of C is 0.4. So remember this thing, this is also a very good question. that is the value of C for nitrogen, for phosphorus, and for potassium under conventional unit. For Boule unit, for all nutrients, for all NPK, it is constant, that is 0.301. I hope the concept of Boule unit is clear till now. So till now we have discussed that one Boule unit will give us 50% yield increase. 50% yield increase. Okay. And at the same time, the value of C or Mistral is constant for one Boule unit is 0.301. So using this information, we'll now estimate the yield increase due to application of two Boule unit. Okay. So the question is, what will be the yield increase due to application of two Boule unit? For one Boule unit, it is that, because the definition says that by applying one Boule unit, we'll achieve an yield increase of 50%. Then what is the yield increase under two Boule unit? Now we have to calculate that. Okay. So coming to say Mistral equation, that is log A minus Y is equal to log A minus CS. Okay. Here log A is 100, that is the maximum yield achieved, that is 100. And what will the yield increase due to Boule unit, that is not known to us, that is Y. Okay. Then log A is 100 minus C is 0.301, that is known to us, and X is 2, because we have applied two Boule units. Okay, the quantity of input is 2, so here it is 2. So from this equation we can solve, that is log 100 minus Y equal to log 100, value of log 100 is 2 minus 2 into 0.301. Okay, this will give us 1.398. So here log 100 minus Y is 1.398. So 100 minus, for 100 minus Y, we have to take antilog. So antilog of 1.398, that is 25. Okay. So if 100 minus Y is 25, then Y is 100 minus 25, that is 75%. So it means that due to application of two Boule unit, the yield increase is 75%. So here it is interesting to note that by applying one Boule unit, we are getting 50% yield increase. But at the same time, when we are applying two Boule unit, we are getting 75% yield increase. Okay, it is not 100%, because one Boule unit giving 50% yield increase, two Boule unit will give 100% yield increase. It is not like that. So by applying two Boule unit, it is giving 75% yield increase. So remember this thing, successive addition of growth factors. So successive addition of growth factors means whenever we are applying growth factors one after another, so that will increase the 50% yield of the preceding growth factor. 50% yield that is achieved due to the preceding growth factor. Okay, so in this example, the first Boule unit achieved 50% of the maximum yield. Okay, the 50% of the maximum yield was achieved due to the first Boule unit. When we applied the second Boule unit, then the second Boule unit will increase the 50% of the yield that is already achieved by the preceding Boule unit. Okay, so remember the statement that says that the successive increase in growth factor results in a yield increase, that is 50% of that resulting from the addition of the preceding unit until a point reached at which further increase are of no consequences. Suppose we have three Boule units, that is X1, X2 and X3. Okay, when we are applying X1, that is the first Boule unit, then the yield increase will be 50%. Okay, that is the 50% of maximum yield will be achieved. So we can make three columns, that is growth factor, and second column is yield increase due to the growth factor, and third column is total increase in yield. So whenever we are applying the first Boule unit, the yield increase due to the first viable unit is 50% and total increase is 50% of the yield. Okay, 50% of the maximum yield. Then when we applied the second viable unit, then it will give the 50% of the preceding one. So preceding or the first viable unit give the 50%. So second viable unit give the 50% of the 50, that is the 25%. Then what will be the total increase? That is already 50% is there plus 25%, so 75% of the maximum yield. So by applying second viable unit, due to this second viable unit, the increase is 25% and the total increase is 75%. I think it is clear. And when we applied the third viable unit, then it is the 50% of the second viable unit. So second viable unit, due to the second viable unit, the yield increase is 25%. So it is the 50% of 25%, that is 12.5%. So yield increase due to the third viable unit is 12.5%, but the total yield increase is 75 plus 12.5, that is 87.5%. Okay, by applying these three viable unit, we have achieved 87.5% of the maximum yield. And if we'll ask what is the yield increase due to the application of third viable unit, then answer is 12.5%. What is the increase of yield due to the application of second viable unit? Then it is 25%. What is the yield increase due to the application of first viable unit? Then it is 50%. Okay, so total viable unit will be 87.5%. So total yield increase will be 87.5% of the maximum yield, but the yield increase due to the third viable unit is the 12.5%. This is very, very important. In many examinations, this kind of question can come. So question will be like that. The yield increase due to the third viable unit, it is the 12.5%. Third viable unit means we have to multiply 53 times. Okay, that will give the yield increase due to the third viable unit. Okay, but the total yield increase, it is different. It will be added one after another and total will be calculated. So the viable unit also based on the principle that this thing will continue till the total yield achievable is achieved as 100% of the maximum yield. Okay, there is no further increase. So till that, this will increase. This thing will be continued. Okay, I hope this is clear now. Then coming to next, that is Bray's nutrient mobility concept. So one important question is, a question can be asked that Bray's nutrient mobility concept is for which nutrients? I can give you example. I can give you options like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and boron. So the correct answer of this question will be phosphorus, because out of nitrogen, phosphorus, boron, and potassium, phosphorus is the immobile nutrient. So remember this thing. Bray's nutrient mobility concept is applicable for immobile nutrients. This is very, very important question. So Bray's nutrient mobility concept says that when the mobility of a nutrient element decreases, the requirement of that nutrient element for maximum yield increases from a variable net value to a constant value. Okay, so remember, whenever the mobility of nutrient element decreases, then its requirement for maximum yield increases. So this can also be a good question for your JRF examination. So remember this thing, Bray's nutrient mobility concept is for immobile nutrients. The Bray modified the Mitscherlich equation and he wrote the Mitscherlich equation, that is log a minus y is equal to log a minus cx. This was the original Mitscherlich law, and he added another factor, that is C1b, where B is the quantity of immobile nutrients, and C1 is known as Bray's factor, or it is also known as efficiency factor of immobile nutrients. Okay, what is A, what is Y, that we have already discussed. What is C, that is Mr. constant. What is X, that is the total growth inputs or growth factors. A is the maximum yield and Y is the actual yield. Okay, so Bray modified the Mr. Lee's equation to this format. And here, remember one thing, that is Bray's nutrient mobility concept is for immobile nutrients. And it says that mobility of a nutrient, whenever the mobility of a nutrient decreases, then the requirement of that nutrient element increases, means more quantity of that nutrient element is required to achieve the maximum yield. This is simple. Then coming to next, that is Wilcox agrobiology law. Wilcox presented the agrobiology law. There are three laws. The first one is Mr. Lee's equation. So he simply presented the Mr. Lee's equation. Then second one is nitrogen constant 318. And the third law is inverse nitrogen law. Inverse nitrogen law. So coming to this nitrogen constant 318. So it says that under normal growth and development, plant absorbs 318 pound nitrogen per acre under normal growth and development condition in a single growth cycle. Okay, in one growth cycle, plant absorbs 318 pound nitrogen per acre. So remember this value, it is also very important in examination, this can be asked. Then coming to next, that is inverse nitrogen law. It says that the yield of a crop is inversely related to the nitrogen content in the dry matter. So it can be written as Y is equal to K by N, where K is a constant. So it can be asked like the inverse nitrogen law was given by Wilcox. Okay, so it says that when the nitrogen content in the dry matter increases, the yield of that crop decreases. So this is all about today. I hope the concept of growth law is clear to you. If you like the video, don't forget to press that like button and share with your friends. Thank you for listening. Take care.